On July 26, 1989, 5 farm workers died after consecutively entering a manure pit on their farm. The pit measured 20 by 24 feet and was 10 feet deep. The victims were a 65-year-old dairy farmer, his 2 sons, a grandson, and a nephew. The younger son was the first to enter the pit to replace a shear pin on an agitator shaft. While attempting to climb out of the pit, the initial victim, a 28-year-old male, was overcome and fell to the bottom. The grandson, 15 years of age, then entered the pit to rescue him, and he too was overcome and collapsed. The nephew, a 63-year-old man, the older son, 37 years old, and the dairy farmer, 65 years old, then entered the pit one at a time, attempting to rescue those already overcome. Each was overcome and collapsed in turn. A carpet installer working at the farmhouse then entered the pit to attempt rescue. He too was overcome, but was rescued by his assistant and subsequently recovered. Finally, the owner of the local farm arrived on the scene with his 2 workers and, using a rope, extricated the 5 victims from the pit. So 20 minutes later, the paramedics arrived and they began CPR. The nephew was pronounced dead at the scene, and the remaining 4 victims were transported to the local hospital, where they either passed away upon arrival or shortly after. The medical examiner's reports cite methane asphyxiation as the cause of these 5 deaths. Welcome back, everyone. It's your boy JB in the place to be, and today's topic of discussion is manhole safety. But before we begin, I got a couple of announcements. Thank you for the 1,000+ subs. It occurred to me I never said thank you, and I'm very appreciative. Yeah, in the future, there's going to be quite a bit more content. We're also going to start doing live streams. I like to be able to communicate with text as well as folks who have questions in real time. We're going to talk with a construction engineer that feels comfortable with sharing her story and providing some insight into the industry. She's going to share her experience and her point of view for the ladies out there, okay? As well as for some of the guys too. In the manholes I'm going to show you in this video, the chief concerns are the water level, very dangerous, and I'm going to show you why, as well as the atmosphere, equally dangerous, right? As well as what's actually in there, okay? So, all right, so there I am, trying my hardest not to smile. First thing we have is a headlamp. All right, next thing we have is hoses, right? Because if you got hoses, baby, you better have a pump too, right? Submersible pump, very nice, very dependable, heavy as hell, right? And then we have our ventilator. This baby is immensely important. Everything I just showed you is very important. But this handy device, well, it functions as a blower and a sucker. As you can see here, the front side of it comes off, and then it can be attached to the other side of it, right? It's got a fan that only blows in one direction. But if you were to attach the hose to the opposite side, it starts sucking. Very nice, right? Okay, so here we have our multi-gas detector, right? In layman's terms, it's an oxygen meter. It'll tell you how much oxygen is present in that environment, whether it be a confined space or a wide open space. We'll demonstrate that shortly. It also can check for other gases such as hydrogen sulfide, methane, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, as well as various levels of oxygen, right? Why would it check for various levels of oxygen, you might be asking yourself.
Oxygen gets you high.
No, it's because there's a safe level as well as a hazardous level, right? In the environment, you want at least 19.5% oxygen. Anything over 23%, and suddenly it becomes less, it becomes more harmful, as it were. 24% is used by hospitals, right? Two things we won't go into in this video is the rescue system It's the tripod with a crane or winch used to extract a person out of the manhole or confined space. And we won't go into cones, right? We won't go into these two because we're going to do a separate video on the rescue system, but it should go without saying that you need cones before you go jumping underneath ground, right? Anytime you're doing any work in the street or even slightly off the street or anything that can injure someone, you want to cone off that area. And if you're in the street, you want to use a direction board too. You want to steer traffic away from you. So just a brief sidestep, let's look at these gases just a bit more so that we know what to be aware of, right? So ideally, before you even go into the manhole, first thing you want to do is you don't want to be alone. Don't be alone, man. You hop down in there and suddenly you just fall unconscious, man. It's because some of these gases have a knockout factor. It can be so dense down there that you're immediately overwhelmed. Just like in the earlier story, you're immediately overwhelmed and then you just fall unconscious. No one even knows you're down there. Why? Because you did it by yourself, right? Don't go in there by yourself. Always have at least one other person. But stepping back into what these gases are, let's have a look at hydrogen sulfide, methane gas, and carbon monoxide, right? You'll know if you're being adversely affected by these because they all have to do with oxygen displacement, right? You're inhaling this gas rather than oxygen, right? And on the screen, you'll see that there's a full list of symptoms that you're being affected that you should be on the lookout for. But the common theme among them is nausea, disturbed equilibrium, vomiting, headaches. Your memory is going to be screwed up in some cases, or you'll even be weak, right? You're being oxygen deprived. You're being asphyxiated. Okay, so here I am with my multi-gas detector, right? We see it's registering nothing, right? Decent oxygen level, always calibrated whenever you get a chance. So let's go ahead and just skip past that. But if you're ever in the field and you needed to know immediately whether this thing is working, just put it up next to your generator's exhaust. This thing started going bananas, man. You'll see that it was registering hydrogen sulfide, carbon monoxide was it's overloaded. It even detected combustibles. And you saw the oxygen level go down, right? It'll stay an alarm. It's very loud, right? And it's going to stay that way. That way they can find your body if you're unconscious because you were hot dogging and jumped down to certain death. Okay? So, yeah. It's got a clip on the back so that you can affix it to your clothes. Also, before we continue, one way you can actually use this thing before even going down into the hole, let's say you pumped it out already, right? And you're still not sure of the atmosphere, you could just tie it to some mule tape to a rope and just lower it down in there. Whatever long cordage you have, you could just lower it down in there and it'll tell you if the atmosphere is hazardous or not, right? Again, it goes off audibly and it'll start flashing red. So there you go. All right, so here's me just pointing at stuff. There's my pump. My hose. This here is my manhole hook. They gotta come up with better names for these things. My manhole hook and my ventilator. And we see it going down over my cage into the manhole. The cage needs to be there. You also see a cone there, but the cage needs to be there to stop people from falling into it. Right? So here's me inside of the manhole here. We see that I have my oxygen sensor going. My gas detector, and we see the ventilators going.
Oh shit, it's in the other phone.
This is me in another manhole, right? With my phone, recording with my phone because I'm so poor and I just don't invest in equipment. All right? Like, share, subscribe. We can see coils of fiber just everywhere, man. Just coils among coils among coils. It's a mess down there, but this ain't even bad, right? This is not the greatest. It ain't bad though. All right, so here's a hazard that, you know, you might even overlook, right? You might overlook this. It's gonna, you'll see it real quick, and I want you to, you know, ask yourself, what did you just see? Right? Anybody who's been in the industry long enough knows that that's a death trap. Okay? Why is it a death trap? Because if you look back up at it, right? If you look at it, you'll see that you only got about, I don't know, a centimeter, maybe a quarter of an inch of that ladder actually touching the lid of that manhole. So moving on to this next one, we can see that my hose is all the way down into this manhole, but yeah, we can see the hose is all the way down in there. We can see the ducts, right? We can see that I'm standing on a grate. I have my oxygen meter there. Okay, still registering good. All right. Yeah. This is still nice, man. This ain't even bad. It's not bad. We can see the ladder, we can see mule tape, and we can see the condensation is forming on the top. So in these manholes, it's actually warmer than above ground, right? Yeah, look at that. Just drop a rock down in there. It's above ground. We can see the ventilator at the far end. Cones are present. There's cones all over the place. On the other side of my trailer, and the exhaust is on the other side. You don't want your ventilator being directly next to the exhaust of your vehicle or your trailer. Right? Now, this may very well be the manhole I've ever been in. It's well lit. Yeah, there's still water down in there, and it looks like it's low water, but in actuality, it's about, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 more feet. You can also see the water line there. Yep. Yeah. Inside a manhole. Yeah, I'm okay. Okay, so just to preface this, we were downtown Chicago and we were looking for an enclosure, a specific case, a specific kit underground, and our maps were not entirely accurate. They weren't even close to being accurate. They put us in a generalized location, and that's what we had to work with. So here we go. Okay. So in this particular manhole, we got our cones out. We see the nosy CPD, and we're ventilating this hole. There wasn't any, what do you call that, moisture down in there. I'm not sure what that pipe is, that huge diameter pipe. It isn't water, because I think that has to be like 9-10 feet deep. If you know, please put it in the comment section. But we can see that we have fiber running from this manhole over to this other manhole where we were at. Okay. So, as with anything else, same situation, same protocol every time. You get the ventilator going and you start pumping. Okay.
No pun intended.
What you don't see here is that I had already checked the atmospheric levels, right? I already checked that. And I'll continue to check it. Ideally, the moment I pull it up from underground and I see that my oxygen meter, my multi-gas detector is fine, I'll just take it off and clip it to me. I like to clip it right at my midsection, okay? Because some of these gases rise up while other gases fall down, right? So I'd rather just be smack dab in the center, right? When you're lowering your pump down, use the corders that came with it, right? Don't be pulling on cords, right? We're all adults. Let's use the equipment the correct way. We can see that I'm trying to get this down, but not get it caught on anything, right? I don't want it to be caught on the ladder. I don't want to be caught in any coils, because that's just another headache, man.
1 hour later.
So we were pumping for about an hour and pretty much no progress. All right. Here's a fun fact. You might be wondering, where does the methane and hydrogen sulfide, where do all these gases come from that seem to accumulate in your manhole, right? Now, if we look over here, we can see a storm drain, right? Same way the leaves and this other organic decaying material is falling down in there. It's the exact same way it'll fall into the manhole. In fact, some of these storm drains, they leak, and all these things leak underground, and this added moisture, this added organic decaying material will find its way into your manhole. There you go. It all just ain't coming through the top, man. Yeah. Here we are. It's pretty dry in here, but we can see the water line, and we can see the amount of progress we made down there. We can see that there's so many enclosures, and there's still so much water down here, man. And we still haven't found my enclosure, my case, my kit. And we're still looking. And we can see that all these ducts shooting out the wall like an exploded locomotive, man. And here I am, you know, got a drop light there, a ventilator. I got my O2 sensor on me. Got my pump still going. Still pumping. And still ain't found the case. But you don't see it, but way tucked back there, right where the water's bubbling up, that is where my enclosure was. It was difficult. It was a nightmare. But here is a death trap. No one in their right mind would want to jump down in there without a rescue winch, right? No one in their right mind. That ladder is vertical, okay? And even still, there's water down in there. You just don't know how deep it is, right? We went through a few manholes, each one with various levels of depth. I'm also gonna try to get some amazing footage. You sure that's not it? You know, it'd be funny. The fucker's only like 5 feet deep.
A few minutes later.
Hello.
How you doing?
What'd you say?
Many minutes later.
Slow down,
1 hour later.
Look at that, you see that?
See what?
That was badass.
What'd you do?
I used the pump to pull the ladder up, and then the hooks got caught on the rung.
Dude, you're fucking dope, man. How you gonna get it out now?
Yeah, well, getting the pumps out of it.
A few minutes later.
Manhole safety video or something?
I'm in the midst of shooting it. Well, I just did this while I'm working out the last of the script.
Just wait till we got the kit so we can use the crane and everything.
You got a crane?
Eddie says should be coming in here any day now.
1 hour later. Two hours later. Many hours later.
Oh yeah. Quickest way to get fired, right? It is the work phone. So. That's gonna do it, man. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you found it informative, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, right? Comment below anything you want to add to the conversation. Yeah, man, and I appreciate you for being here. And you know, if you waited this long, go ahead and check out my my awful 3D rendering. I did the best I could, so I figured I'd say the best for last, right? You guys take care. Peace.